Rain beat the porch like fists. Water ran down the steps in thin rivers, carrying leaves and dust to the street. Diana stood under the dim porch light, hair soaked, mascara streaked. She pressed the phone hard to her ear and yelled, "Ryan, your mother locked me out again. I'm freezing. Come now." She didn't wait for him to answer. She hit the door with the side of her fist. 1, 2, 3, each thud louder than the last. From the sidewalk, a neighbor's curtain moved and went still. Inside, Evelyn sat in the hallway chair with a folded blanket on her lap. The blanket smelled like lavender. She kept her eyes on the door, calm and quiet, as if the storm were far away. She heard Diana's voice through the wood, sharp like broken glass. She let the words pass through her, not into her. She had promised herself, no shouting matches, no insults, no begging. Not again. Diana pounded harder. "Open up. This is ridiculous." She tried the handle, rattling it. The new lock stayed firm. She wiped her face and banged again, louder, so the whole street would hear. "Do you enjoy humiliating me?" she screamed. "You're sick." Evelyn closed her eyes for a moment. There was a time when she would have opened the door at once. She would have offered a towel and dry clothes and tea. She would have let the insult slide because peace felt easier than truth. But the last month had taught her something. When someone believes your home is theirs to control, kindness looks like weakness. When someone calls you crazy in your own kitchen, silence sounds like guilt. Tonight she chose something else. A slow breath, a steady back, a door that stayed closed. Her phone buzzed. "Ryan." She let it ring once, twice, then answered. "Mom, what's going on?" He was speaking fast, with the hum of his car in the background. "Diana says you locked her out." "It's raining," Evelyn said, voice low. "Tell her to wait in the car. You can both come in when you arrive." "She doesn't have the car," he said. She walked from the store. "Mom, please. She's upset." "I know," Evelyn said. "I can hear her." He was quiet for a beat. "You changed the locks?" "I told you both last week," she replied. "Boundaries. Keys are for those who respect them." "Mom." "Drive safe," she said and hung up. On the porch, Diana paced, phone still in hand. She switched to the camera, showing her soaked jacket. "Look at me," she said into a voice message. "She's making me stand in the rain like a dog. Everyone can see." She shot a glare at the dark windows, as if the panes were eyes. A car turned onto the street. Headlights slid across wet pavement, up the porch steps, and over Diana's face. She lifted her chin. The car stopped at the curb with a hiss of water. Ryan ran out, jacket over his head, and leapt up the steps 2 at a time. "Are you okay?" he asked, pulling her close. "She's cruel," Diana said, voice breaking. "I knocked and knocked. She ignored me." Ryan's jaw flexed. He tried the door with his key, fast and sure, like he had done 1,000 times before. The metal slid into the keyway, then halted. He wiggled it, turned harder. Nothing. He stared at the lock, confused, as if it had betrayed him. He tried again. No click. No give. He knocked. "Mom, it's me." Footsteps approached from inside. The deadbolt turned. The door opened 3 inches, stopped on the chain. Evelyn stood there, hair pinned back, a sweater over her shoulders. Warm light from the hallway fell in a thin stripe across the porch, stopping at Diana's shoes. "Ryan," she said. "You're wet. Come under the awning." "Mom, why won't you let us in?" His voice was tight, trying to be both gentle and firm. "It's pouring." Evelyn's eyes moved to Diana, then back to him. "I asked for respect in this house," she said. "I asked for simple things. No shouting at me, no moving my things without asking, no telling the neighbors you are the new lady of the house. I was laughed at. I was called names. I warned you both. I meant it." Diana leaned forward. "Stop acting like a victim. I cleaned your kitchen today. I rearranged the pantry so it actually makes sense, and you lost your mind." Evelyn did not raise her voice. "You threw away the jars your husband and I used for 30 years. You told me my memories were junk." "They were old," Diana shot back. "They were mine," Evelyn said. Ryan rubbed his forehead. "Okay, everyone calm down. Mom, please. Let's talk inside." "We will," Evelyn said. "When you are ready to listen." She looked at Diana. "You can come in when you stop calling me crazy and stop treating my home like a prize." Diana laughed, harsh and small. "Your home? This will be our home. Ryan is your only child. What do you think happens when—" "Diana," Ryan warned, but it was too late. Evelyn's gaze did not move. "I think," she said softly, "that you have made your plans very clear." Diana scoffed and turned away, arms crossed. I'm freezing. I'm not doing this on a porch. Ryan reached for the chain. Mom, please, he said again, quieter now. I'll talk to her. Evelyn closed the door an inch, steady hands on the wood. No more promises that melt in the rain, she said. Tonight, you both learn the line. The chain slid off. The door opened fully, only for Evelyn to step into the frame herself, blocking the way with her small, strong body. The smell of soup drifted from the kitchen. A clock ticked down the hall. The house felt warm, safe, like it belonged to time itself. Ryan looked past her into that warmth. He wanted to step through, to wrap Diana in a towel, to make this whole night vanish. But he also heard an older sound. The scrape of chairs at the dining table from years ago, his father's laugh, his mother's quiet work at the sink. He felt how easy it is to break something that took a lifetime to build. Lightning flashed. Thunder rolled close. Evelyn held out a folded towel to Ryan. For the car seat, she said. So you don't get sick driving back. He didn't take it at first. His hand shook. You really changed the locks. I did, she said. And I left a note on the kitchen counter last week with a number to call if you needed anything. You walked past it. Diana snorted. A note? What are we, tenants? No, Evelyn said. Guests. Who forgot they were guests. Silence spread. Water dripped from the porch roof in a steady rhythm. Across the street, the neighbor's door opened a crack and closed again. Evelyn's voice softened. Ryan, I'm not shutting you out of my life. I am shutting out disrespect. You know what was said in my kitchen. You know how many times I swallowed it. He looked at the floor. He did know. He remembered the word crazy tossed like a match. He remembered his mother's face when Diana called her a liar in front of two friends. He remembered saying, let's not make it a big deal, because he hated scenes. Tonight was a scene, and his mother was the one who refused to act in it. Diana moved toward the door, trying to slip past. Evelyn didn't step aside. Not tonight, she said. Not until you can speak to me like family. Diana drew herself up, wet and shaking. She opened her mouth to spit another insult, then saw Ryan's eyes on her, tired, conflicted, not proud. She closed her mouth. She turned away. Ryan took the towel at last. We'll go, he said, voice small. We'll talk tomorrow. Evelyn nodded once. Drive safe, she said again. She closed the door. The latch clicked. The hallway went quiet, but not heavy. She set the second towel on the chair, then stood with both hands on the wood, feeling the solid grain under her fingers. The rain softened. Her heart did not race. She felt steady, like a person who had finally said the thing that needed saying. On the porch, Ryan and Diana hurried to the car. He opened the door for her. She slid in without a word. As he walked around to the driver's side, he looked back at the house. The porch light made a pale circle on the wet step where he used to sit and tie his shoes before school. He realized the key in his pocket felt different now, lighter and useless. He got in, started the engine, and drove off slowly. Behind them, the house stayed bright in one window. The hallway lamp his father had fixed years ago, glowing steady against the storm. The morning after the storm, the sky was pale gray, as if the clouds had not yet decided whether to stay or drift away. Puddles covered the yard, and the porch still smelled of wet wood. Evelyn stood at the kitchen sink, rinsing out a teacup. She could still hear the echo of Diana's pounding fists on the door from last night. But instead of leaving her shaken, it left her calm. For the first time in a long while, Evelyn felt steady inside her own home. The phone rang. She let it ring twice before answering. Mom. Ryan's voice was careful, softer than usual. We need to talk. I expected we would, Evelyn said, drying her hands on a towel. She's upset, Ryan continued. She says you embarrassed her in front of the neighbors. She said you locked her out on purpose. Evelyn closed her eyes, tired. Did you see her face when she said that? There was a pause. Yes. Then you know it wasn't about the neighbors, Evelyn said. It was about control. Ryan sighed. Mom, you're not making this easy. She's my wife. She wants to feel like she belongs in the house too. She wants to own it, Evelyn said flatly. There's a difference. That afternoon, Ryan came by without Diana. Evelyn was waiting in the living room, a small fire burning in the fireplace even though the chill wasn't strong. Ryan dropped onto the sofa, rubbing his forehead. Mom, you didn't have to go that far. Changing the locks? Evelyn looked at him carefully. Do you remember what I told you last month, when she threw out the jars from the pantry? Ryan frowned. You said they meant something to you. That dad used them. No, Evelyn corrected. I said if she disrespected my home again, there would be consequences. I wasn't speaking in riddles. I was telling you the truth. Ryan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. I thought you were just angry. I was clear, she said. You didn't listen. She stood and walked to the cabinet. From a small box, she pulled out a photograph, her and Ryan's father, younger, smiling with paint on their clothes, standing in front of the half-built house. She handed it to Ryan. Your father laid every brick of this wall with his own hands, Evelyn said, pointing toward the frame of the living room. This house is not just a roof. It is a memory of work, of sacrifice. And last week, I heard your wife tell her friend that soon it would all be hers. That I was just in the way. Ryan's grip tightened on the photo. He didn't look up. I kept silent when she moved my furniture, Evelyn continued. I kept silent when she called me controlling. But I will not keep silent when she talks about me as if I am already gone. I warned you both. Last night was not cruelty, Ryan. Last night was my warning turned into action. Ryan finally looked up. She's just outspoken, Mom. She doesn't always mean the things she says. Evelyn tilted her head. When she called me crazy in front of the neighbors, did she not mean it? Ryan flinched. When she bragged that she would get the house soon. Was that a joke? Evelyn asked, her voice calm but sharp. Ryan swallowed hard. I don't know anymore. Evelyn sat back down across from him. You do know. You just don't want to admit it. You are torn, I understand. But son, ignoring the truth will not protect you. It will destroy us both. For a long time, neither spoke. The fire popped softly in the grate. Ryan finally broke the silence. So what now? You'll just keep her locked out forever. No, Evelyn said. I'll open the door when she learns respect. But until then, this house is mine to protect. Ryan leaned back, eyes on the ceiling. She's not going to like that. She doesn't have to, Evelyn said. She just has to accept it. Ryan shook his head slowly. Mom, you don't know her. She doesn't give up. A small smile touched Evelyn's lips. Neither do I. That night, Ryan returned home to the apartment he shared with Diana. She was pacing in the living room, her voice sharp the moment he opened the door. Well, did she apologize? Ryan set his jacket down and sighed. No. She stood her ground. Diana scoffed. Of course she did. That woman will die clutching those walls. She thinks the house belongs to her forever. But she's wrong. We're the future, Ryan. Not her. Ryan stared at her, hearing the same hunger Evelyn had warned him about. For the first time, he didn't brush it aside. For the first time, he wondered if his mother had been right all along. Diana caught the look in his eyes and stepped closer. Don't tell me you're taking her side. I'm not taking sides, Ryan muttered. I think you've gone too far. Her face hardened. If she won't move aside, we'll make her. And that was the moment Ryan realized something he had been trying not to see. This was no longer about a misunderstanding. It was a battle, and Diana was already choosing her weapon. He thought of his mother's words, soft but unshakable. I warned you both. The warning had only just begun. 2 days passed after the storm, and silence hung between mother and son. Evelyn spent her mornings tending to the garden, pruning the roses her late husband had planted. The rain had left the soil rich and dark, but the house felt heavier somehow, as though it was waiting for the next confrontation. On the third evening, Ryan showed up again. This time he came alone. He didn't knock loudly, didn't call out. He stood in the doorway with his damp coat, looking almost like the little boy Evelyn used to call in for supper after playing too long outside. Come in, Evelyn said, her voice steady. He stepped inside, glancing at the familiar photos on the wall, the worn carpet on the stairs. For a long moment he said nothing, just stared at the house as though it were slipping away from him. Finally, he sat down at the dining table. Mom, he began, I need you to tell me the truth. Not warnings, not words in the middle of fights. Just the truth. Did you change the locks because you don't trust Diana? Evelyn looked at him, then walked into the study. When she returned, she was holding a thin brown folder. She laid it on the table between them and slid it toward him. Ryan frowned, pulling it open. Inside were legal papers, official, stamped, signed. His name wasn't on them. Neither was Diana's. What is this? He asked. My preparation, Evelyn answered. Months ago, I put the house in a trust. My name alone. When I'm gone, it will pass to you, or to your children. But not to her. Never to her. Ryan stared at the words, the signatures. He read them once, then again, his throat tightening. You did this without telling me? I told you with my actions, Evelyn said softly. You just didn't want to see it. Every insult she threw, every time she called me crazy, every time she bragged that soon the house would be hers, I heard it. I heard enough to know I had to protect what your father and I built. Ryan's hand trembled on the paper. She talks big, Mom. She doesn't mean half of what she says. Do you believe that? Evelyn asked. Her eyes searched his, not with anger, but with a sadness that cut deeper. Ryan looked away. He remembered Diana's exact words only nights ago. We'll make her move aside. He wanted to defend her, but the memory made his stomach twist. Evelyn reached out and touched the folder. I am not trying to take you from her, but I will not let her take this from me. Or from you. This house is your father's hands in the mortar, my laughter in the kitchen, your first steps across this floor. It is not for sale, and it is not for her to claim. Ryan leaned back, his face pale. She'll lose her mind when she sees this. She already has, Evelyn said calmly. Last night proved that. But paper doesn't lie. This house is protected. I made sure of it. For the first time in his life, Ryan saw his mother not as a fragile widow, but as someone who could fight silently, strategically. She hadn't just changed the locks. She had changed the future. Later that night, Ryan returned to the apartment. Diana was waiting, arms crossed, face tight with impatience. Well, did she finally admit she's wrong? Ryan placed the folder on the table. You need to see this. Diana opened it, her eyes scanning the documents. The moment she realized what they were, her face darkened. A trust? She locked me out legally, too. Her voice rose. She planned this behind our backs. It's not behind our backs, Ryan said quietly. She told us. We just didn't listen. Diana slammed the folder shut. You're taking her side again. Don't you see? She's manipulating you. She wants to keep control until the day she dies. And you're letting her. Ryan shook his head. No, Diana. She's protecting what belongs to her. What Dad built. What we lived in. She has every right. Her voice turned sharp, almost desperate. If you don't fight her, Ryan, you'll never get what you deserve. Ryan froze. What you deserve. The words echoed in his head, sour and heavy. This wasn't about family anymore. This wasn't about belonging. It was about greed. That night, when Diana stormed into the bedroom, Ryan sat alone in the living room with the folder open again. His eyes kept returning to his mother's signature, to the calm certainty in her preparations. For the first time, he admitted to himself what he had been avoiding. His wife wasn't just outspoken or careless with words. She was dangerous to the very home that had shaped him. And maybe, just maybe, his mother had been right all along. The folder lay between them on the table like a wound that refused to close. Diana's fingers gripped the edges, nails pressing hard against the cardboard as though sheer force could erase the words inside. Her face was flushed, eyes flashing with disbelief. She can't do this, she spat. She can't just decide everything without asking us. That house belongs to us now. Ryan cut her off, his voice quiet but firm. No, Diana. It doesn't. It never did. Her mouth fell open, as if he had struck her. You're siding with her? I'm facing the truth, he said. His voice trembled, but his eyes held steady. You've been talking about the house like it's already yours. You've treated my mother like she's in the way. And now I see it. Diana pushed back from the table, pacing the room. So what? She gets to keep her claws in everything forever? You'll never grow up, Ryan. You'll never be your own man. Ryan flinched but didn't look away. Being a man doesn't mean stealing from the woman who raised me. It doesn't mean destroying my father's legacy just because you want more. The silence that followed was thick. Diana's chest rose and fell quickly, her anger shifting into something else, fear. She had always believed she could bend Ryan, that his loyalty to her would outweigh everything else. But now the balance was breaking. The next morning, Diana marched to Evelyn's house without telling Ryan. She hammered on the door until Evelyn opened it, calm as ever. You think you've won? Diana hissed. This trust, this paperwork, it means nothing. Ryan is my husband. That house will be mine. Evelyn looked at her, eyes soft but steady. Diana, you don't fight with paper. You fight with respect. And that is something you've never given me. Diana's lip curled. Respect? You don't deserve mine. Evelyn leaned closer, her voice almost a whisper. Then you will never walk through this door again. She closed the door slowly, the lock sliding into place with a finality that echoed in Diana's chest. When Ryan found out Diana had gone to his mother's house, the last thread inside him snapped. That night, they argued until their voices were raw. Diana accused him of weakness, of betrayal, of being his mother's boy. Ryan, for the first time, shouted back. You don't understand, do you? This isn't about me choosing her over you. This is about you never seeing her as family. You wanted her gone because you wanted the house. That's not love. That's greed. Diana's face twisted, and she threw the folder at him. If you can't see what's best for us, then maybe I married the wrong man. The words hung in the air like shattered glass. Ryan didn't pick up the folder. He simply walked out of the apartment, keys in hand. Days turned into weeks. Diana stayed bitter, cold, her anger eating away at the walls of their marriage. The neighbors whispered about the night in the rain, about the screaming on the porch. Everyone remembered, and every time Diana walked past, the memory followed her like a shadow. Ryan began spending more time at his mother's house again, helping with repairs, sitting quietly by the fireplace where his father used to sit. For the first time in years, he felt peace. The house seemed to breathe again, free of the poison that had been seeping into its walls. One evening, as Evelyn poured tea for him, Ryan finally said the words he had been carrying. You were right, Mom. About everything. I didn't want to see it, but you were right. Evelyn placed the teapot down gently. It was never about winning, Ryan. It was about protecting what matters. He nodded, eyes misty. And I see that now. You weren't locking us out. You were locking out her lies. Evelyn reached across the table, squeezing his hand. For the first time in months, the weight between them lifted. As for Diana, her downfall wasn't sudden. It was slow, steady, like a rope unraveling thread by thread. Her pride had been wounded in front of neighbors, her control taken by papers she couldn't tear apart. And worst of all, Ryan's trust in her had cracked. She left one morning without saying much, carrying a suitcase and her bitterness with her. The door closed behind her, quiet but final. Ryan didn't chase her. He sat in the living room, staring at the family photos on the wall, realizing that sometimes love isn't enough to blind you forever. Evelyn stood by the window, watching the leaves fall in the yard. The storm that had begun that night on the porch was over. She had defended her home, her dignity, and her husband's memory. For the first time, the house felt safe again. She whispered softly, almost to herself. It wasn't revenge. It was respect. And now it's mine again. Ryan, hearing her words, closed his eyes. He finally understood. The storm had ended, but its lesson would stay with them both forever.